How do you? I got a question for everybody. What's the best way to talk to people that when they're struggling in life and they don't, and they say they believe in God, but yet they're not allowing any of His works into His life? Like when we believe in God, right? And even the devil believes in God. Okay, every every living being on this earth with any ability to think rationally believes that they were created because we all know we didn't create ourselves. So the question is, when somebody is refusing to listen to God or accept His help or love Him enough to actually let Him do anything in our lives, right? It's like there's an escalator back there, right? Stairs and escalators. It's like, okay, believing in God is a lot different than obeying, following, hearing, or listening, right? When we actually belief is not really, we ask people if they believe in God, we really should be asking if they accept Christ, right? Because when we do, everything in our life gets better. And if there are any hardships, they only purify us and make us stronger, right? I was homeless for years, right? After going through a lot of things in life. And the very first day I decided to accept Christ into my life, things actually changed. So I I really enjoy trying to talk to people that are in places I used to be. Like when I see homeless people, anybody that's where you used to be, you want to share the gospel. You want to do things to maybe help their life get better because I've been there, right? But the question is, how do you reach people? How do you lead a horse to water and make it drink, but when they don't want to drink? So we can't make a horse drink, but what can we do to make a horse want to drink, right? I'm in sales and it's like, okay, I'm not there to make anybody buy anything, but when we know better, we might do better, right? So like when you go to buy something, right? A salesperson educates you on what the products and the features are and the benefits, right? And then we make a decision to buy it. We might, right? So just creating that question out there, and probably obviously it's not an open dialogue, so unless you guys leave a comment in there, actually, yeah, leave a comment in the comment box. Like, what do you think is one of the best statements or questions that might make somebody want to actually repent? And let's not even start there. What's a question that might make somebody just want to talk to God? Right? Because my new favorite colors are black and white, because you know what? God said, be a light unto a dark world, right? So it's like, if we cover ourselves up and don't allow the world to see our light, then we can't change anything, right? So the world is dark, right? The world's very dark. And we got to make sure that the light we possess shines through. And we can't do it every second of every day, but we can find and take advantage of opportunities where we might be able to change somebody's life, or at least, we got to remember that there's an unseen battle behind the flesh, right? So even when we don't manage to get somebody to help somebody in the flesh, there is a unseen battle of angels and demons, right? That we remember living in this fleshly world and all this stuff. It's like cars and houses and jobs and stuff. This is all an illusion, right? Now, of course, it's real, right? But what I mean is, like, there's a veil covering everything up, right? So everything we do that aligns with God, it's like, even if you go to work, right? God wants you to treat your body right, right? He wants you to, if you're at work, He wants you to stay away from the vending machine, right? When you see a homeless person, He doesn't just want you to give them $1 so they can buy dope. He wants you to, and I can say, because I used to be homeless and I used to be a dope head, right? And now, let's say the day that I decided to surrender to Christ, I ended up in rehab, not by works of my own, but because God literally sent a van to take me to rehab, right? And gave me the courage to actually say, can I go, right? And I had spent the months before that walking the streets of Seattle, addicted to drugs, miserable, heartbroken, betrayed by myself mostly, because we are our own best friend and we are also our own worst enemy, right? We got to remember, the devil can't do anything to us. When Christ died and rose again, He neutered the devil, right? So all we can do is simply what's the word? What am I looking to say? All we can do is act on temptation, act on things, right? The devil can wave a Snickers bar in front of our face. He can wave a beer. He can wave alcohol. He can wave anything in front of us. And if we act on it, right? But when we walk in obedience, like, I mean, just try it. Like, walk in obedience and then, like, and actually notice the covering on your life, right? Engage in prayer daily and actually notice the covering in your life, right? And then engage in sin. Let me rephrase that. Remember the times when we engaged in sin, and remember the times that we were not covered, right? You feel a literal difference, right? You literally feel a difference, right? But let me get back to my point. And, it's just, I think, even if it's not a question that anybody wants to answer, maybe I can just ask the question and create the thought pattern in your mind. How do we reach people that don't want to be reached? And obviously, we're not going to just force them to receive anything, because that wouldn't be good. But we can simply ask a question, because when we ask a question, it creates a reaction, right? And that reaction in the mind is for one to listen, think, and respond. And whether they respond positively or negatively, they're gonna listen, because they have ears, they can't help but listen. They hear you. It's not a choice, right? Cars drive by, I cannot help but hear them drive by. It's not optional, okay? And as there's noise driving by, right, you think, right? Whether it's to ignore the noise, or, oh, that's a cool song, or that's an annoying song, or, what did they say? That was cool, that was right, or anything, right? And then respond, whether that's through inaction or action, right? Response doesn't actually mean we choose to respond. It means, what is our response? Everything is a response. Choosing to respond by saying nothing is a response. Choosing to respond by saying something is a response. So whether there's no such thing as no action, right? Everything is an action. I mean, you can probably figure out what I'm trying to say. Anyway, God bless. Please like, subscribe, follow, all that stuff. Share it with somebody that maybe needs to hear it. I got to say a little bit about me. I'm from Seattle, Washington, and I spent years up and down, and years back, a lot of things happened. Stuff happens to guess what? It happens to everybody. Guess what? If you haven't had things happen to you yet, then you really need to get ready, because they're gonna happen, okay? Your mom's gonna die. Your dad's gonna die. You're gonna lose a job, right? You're gonna get a job. You're gonna have good things happen. You're gonna have bad things happen. But guess what? When we walk without Christ and good things happen to us, we do the wrong things after, right? You get a job, and then what do? You take your paycheck and blow it at the bar, right? That's when you're not with Christ. And then bad things happen, right? And then you destroy everything. Good things happen. You celebrate and destroy things, right? That it doesn't matter what happens. Your reaction is bad. When you walk with Christ, no matter what happens, something bad can happen when you're walking with Christ, and you react in a good way that actually makes for all things to be good, as God says He'll do, right? And then when something good happens, you walk with Christ, we compound it with more good, right? We get a paycheck, we invest, we steward our finances properly, right? When we have something bad happen, we respond instead of reacting, right? So it's like, okay, when you're walking with Christ, let's say you lose your job. Instead of reacting, right, by getting mad or, anything bad, we simply double down and go work on a resume, study, pray, focus, and go get a better job, right? So there's no such thing as bad when we walk with Christ, right? You can kill me, and guess what? John the Baptist, you guys have seen The Chosen? I don't know if it's really his last words, but when they beheaded him, his last words, as the sun shined down on, he saw the sun shining in the sky, is right before they beheaded him, and his last words were thank you, right? Because he was saying thank you to God, because he had the opportunity to serve Christ, to serve God, right? So we got to be a lot more grateful for everything in our life. We got to learn that there's a lot of good and a lot of bad in the world. We got to take everything with a grain of salt, and that doesn't mean be the bad or accept it in a way where we become of it. It just means knowing, the world's it's a good and a bad place. There's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad. How do you see things, right? Are you going to see everything as an opportunity to become stronger, right? When you walk by a mall and you see all the stuff we don't need, it's like going to a mental gym, right? It's saying, I'm going to get stronger at being able to say, no, I don't need that stuff, and actually get stronger at saying, yes, I do, learning what you do need, right? And then here's the thing. When you don't shop all day, and when you do go buy something, you really appreciate it. You really enjoy it. It's something that you really want. Like, I work in sales, and it's like, I think buying once and buying right is a true way to a great economy. It's like, anyway, not here to talk about work. But God bless. Have a great day. Think about it, pray about it, talk about it, and share it with somebody that you think is everybody should hear it. But yeah, anyway.